Hi everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe in part 2 of Build the Ranger 5 from the Mel Brooks motion picture Spaceballs. And if you are just finding me and wondering what is going on, you're not alone. But there is a part 1 to this, so if you want to start from the beginning, that usually makes more sense. But regardless, if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you with us. If you like my content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It means an awful lot to me. Let's dive in. So when last we met, I was sort of experimenting with paint, but now I found that actually a Rust-Oleum almond in gloss or satin, I'm using gloss, is what this desperately needs, because Winnebagos have that that sort of odd plastic slash paint kind of look to them, and it's kind of it's highly fabricated. But anyway, this will work really well. What I've done is I have started to put lights inside. Here is my I've got headlights. I've got 4 headlights for the front, and what I've done is I've used a little bit of my here it is. Pull this out. I've used the Solares. There's a bunch of versions of this. I just happen to like this one. Not cheap, but it's a good product and it works. So I'm I'm sticking with it. But there are definitely numerous versions of this on the market. So go ahead, knock yourselves out, and choose whichever one you want. You can also use microcrystal clear as well. You don't have to go with an instant drying resin, but that's what's on here. So I've got my 4 headlights. In the rear now, I have red lights, and I've got a couple of lenses to cover these with. So we'll look pretty clean when we've got that. I've got I'll put a little bit of microcrystal clear mixed with some Tamiya amber clear for these in the back and in the front here, and that'll take care of that. And then the only other lights that we are working with are well, the engines themselves, right? So I've got 2 of those, and what I have to do now, actually, there's a myriad of things I have to do, but one of the things I have to do right now is I've got to line these up, and because there's this grid pattern on here, right? And so the problem with this grid pattern is it's going to make it a little more difficult for me to get a good clean surface on here to epoxy my engines. So what I'm planning to do, ladies and germs, is I'm planning to, once I get these where I want them, I'm planning to create some, well, you can see there, here's a better angle for you, that I'm going to need to figure out how this is going to glue to this. Now I can certainly just run a bead of epoxy around here and maybe I'll be okay, because it is straight up, so I don't even have to really worry about clamping it. But I'm going to, as the great Lou Del Maso always says, use belts and suspenders. And what that means is I'm just going to drill 4 holes here and get some small tubing or solid wire just as my location pins. And so I'm going to be able to have a place for these to live. And I think that'll help with sort of securing those into position, because at the end of the day, they're pretty hefty. They're pretty hefty. So I've got that I'm working on. The next thing I'm going to do after we sort of start to get all that together is I'm actually going to build an interior for this, or I'm going to attempt to do a partial interior. My good friend Jeff Fink, my collaborator on this, Dr. Fink, is in the laboratory as we speak, and he is sending me STL files faster than I can print them, but it's awesome. So what he's got is he's given me chairs. Look at this. I've got 2 club chairs, and he gave me a choice of arms down, or you can have arms up. And so I'm going to create a floor. We'll create a floor for this. And he's also working on a dashboard for me and a windshield. And I think that I may even put some Twinkies in the back of this thing, because if you can imagine here, and I'll put this back together so you can see. Let's just say this is the floor, and I did put some marks here. So if this is your floor, then what this is going to then be crying out for is a rear wall with some kind of a partition, right? So let me put this in position and you can see what I'm doing here. Not at the correct angle, I apologize, but if we do something like that, then what I'm going to be able to do is put some gunk on this back wall. Obviously there'll be a bit of an open point here where you can get through into the main cabin, but I'll put some gunk here with some Twinkies, so it looks like it's alive. No idea if I can find a barf. I'd love a barf. I don't know if I can find a barf. We'll see. I mean, you need a barf and you need a Lone Star. Can I find a Lone Star and a barf? I don't know. We'll certainly see what we can come up with. I don't know. But anyway, I also will put a steering wheel in here. What he did was also, he sent me this blank. Well, he sent me an STL file, is what he did, with a blank for the windshield. And this one's a little big, so we do have a smaller version of it, but it's going to sit beautifully in the front here. And the blank was just to sort of test fit, really, and we've got the correct measurements now. And what I'm going to attempt to do is print this in clear resin, crystal clear resin. Now, I've done this once or twice before, not had terrific success. So this could be a dismal failure, but I want to try. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go to, I've got clear acrylic sheeting, and I can sort of fudge my way through it, but I'd rather not. Now, I do have this, and I'm told that this is pretty good stuff. This is high transparency clear resin. Don't ask me the name of the, well, here's the name of the company, Nova 3D. And I'm told that this resin is really clear. Now, we are going to attempt to print this at 2 mil. The trick is you kind of got to be around when this is finished printing. It's got to go into a very clean bath of alcohol to clean it up. And I don't know what's going to happen. Whether does it run? Will it stain? I don't know. Well, we'll find out together. If I can't, I do have a couple of options in terms of some other folk who have higher skill levels than I do with the printers, and maybe I can coerce them into trying for me if I can't do it. But anyway, that's that. So the only other 3D piece that we've completed is the wheel cover, and this wheel cover for the rear is printed. The resin piece was not terrible, but you can see, you know, you're fighting these kind of what I call dirty lines, for lack of a better explanation of what they are. And I'm just tired of cleaning up poorly molded resin, just tired of it. So when you can augment with some 3D printed parts, you're doing great. So the other thing is I do have the chassis completed, the undercarriage, I should say. And I have done a little bit, just a little bit of detail work to it. Nothing great. I've you know, got my tires on, and they're looking good. Got a little bit of cleanup to do. For some reason, I can't keep these from being clean, you know, without chipping them or doing something. I don't know. But anyway, so I've got my undercarriage, and that's fitting nicely. And I do have some. I will once that undercarriage is in, I will clean these edges up and make them black. So because I am going to, the plan is to display this kind of on a little bit of a tilt and angled up, so it sort of looks like it's taking off. Anyway, that's the plan, and I'm gonna try and stick to it. I've also got some little parts. I've got a gas cap. I've got some horns. I've got some lenses. I've got an antenna, and then I've also got some small watch parts that I've discovered. I found over here that, of course, have been knocked out of their cup and are on the bench. Classic. Anyway, so I've got some real nice detail parts, and I think that'll help give it a little more kind of woomph. We talked about, I've got some diffused opaque transparency for the windows, and I'm waiting on some very fine mesh cloth that I'm going to be using for the screens. You know, the screens to stop bugs and stuff from getting in the camper. They were on the very front of this, and they were in black. So it's not going to stop me from finishing the model. It hopefully will be here soon. I don't know. You know, you never know with these things, especially if it's coming from overseas, which I suspect it is. So we'll see. So we are progressing. It doesn't look like we've done a lot since we last caught up with each other, but believe me, we have. So what I'm going to do now, since everything is going to be on one circuit, is I'm going to start cleaning up some of these wires and getting them out of my way. And then that'll help me get ready for getting my floor and chassis in. I did mention that Jeff is working on the interior with me, and so we will have a dashboard, hopefully, and a steering wheel and the seats, and I think that, as I said, I think that should be fine. So let me start doing some cleaning up. Let me get my my engine's sort of mount positions worked out, my pins in those. I'll drill some holes to get the engine wires into the chassis, and then I can work on a battery switch system for the undercarriage. So I've got all of that, and then hopefully when we come back in the next segment, I'll be able to demonstrate my windshield. Fingers crossed, right? Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, several failed prints on my Photon S for my clear part that I was hoping to use. And it's okay. It's okay. I'm actually, probably the truth be told, better off with some clear plastic card. I've gotten amazing results from this, and I'm just not that skilled yet on my 3D printer. That's the Photon S. I'm spoiled because my Frozen Mega 8 doesn't have to be calibrated. It does it automatically, and it doesn't have to be leveled. It does that automatically. So I'm just spoiled because my old Photon, I call it old, it's a couple of years old now, but that machine has to be on a level surface and has to be calibrated. Otherwise, you just, you know, you got all kinds of reasons to fail a print. And honestly, I just can't be bothered. I want to be printing stuff to make, to build, not spending hours and hours trying to figure out why it doesn't work. And that's operator error. I'm not complaining about the machine. It's the human that doesn't work. But anyway, so I've gone to clear plastic card. I've cut those out, and they're doing quite well. Now, here she is, and she's really coming together. I'm pretty excited about this. All the wiring is in, and it's got its base coat on, and I've got a gloss coat of the almond on here. This is primer plus paint from our dear Rattlecan friends over at Rust-Oleum. And anyway, it went on well, and it gives me a great surface to put my decals on. Now, my decals have to go on before I can start aging and weathering this and painting it, because otherwise they just won't blend in. So that's going to be next. The genius of the great Jeff Fink, who is my collaborator on this, he has been really helpful. He sent me my chairs and my center console, and he sent me a great steering wheel. And I can't quite, in the back you can see I've got the rear curtain and control panels just as they appear in the film. So everything in the cockpit is looking pretty good. Now, I did through a absolute complete fluke discover something. So I'm not gonna light it up right now, but I'll show you later. But I just wanted to share it with you because I thought it was really fun. So I've got these multicolored changing little LEDs from Evans Design, and I'm using them to give a little light to the back of the wall where I've put those little control panels in. And what's interesting is I've also used an opaque plastic card for the windows, and then we're going to put screens on those, so I don't need to put glass on them because there's just no point, and I'll show you that in a second. But what happens is when you plug it in, you get this really cool kind of eerie effect that's shadows that are coming through the windows. So, you know, happy accident, and I'm excited about that. So everything is ready to go here. I've put the chassis on, as you can see here. So that's in. Now it's not glued down. I haven't glued it down. Pressure is holding it in. And I've got, as you can see right here, I've cut out a portal for my little 9-volt battery, and that's where that will live with some kind of a switch. I just haven't figured out what that might be. But you know, it's all together, and it's looking pretty nifty. Obviously, lots of painting and detail work to do, but she is starting to come together, and you know, I'll leave her right there in the back. You got to admit, it's a goof, right? And it's fun. I will say this though, you know, this is classic learning as you go, right? I decided to start this kit right before Christmas. I thought a couple of weeks, I'll knock it out. And, you know, it's the world of resin. It's a crude kit, with all due respect to Chris Adrian, and he knows it. He's not, you know, he's not, that's why I don't think he's making it anymore. It's a crude kit. And then let's be honest, you know, you put out something like that and you have too many people complaining, it gets expensive. So anyway, there we are, you know, it's coming together, and I'm going to try and, well, we'll get it finished in this update, because I think 2 of these is more than enough for any human to endure. But so what I've got here is I've got a photo of the Winnebago. This is the exact Winnebago that was used in the film. And now let me clarify that: not the Winnebago, but a exact version of the one they used. There, that's a clarification. But I want you to see on here, first of all, the screens that are in the windows, and we're going to build those. And then on the front windshield, you've got these black pillars and frames. So I've got to do that. But what I did was I sourced. I do a Sunday group chat with some other modelers who have become friends. And it's a wonderful resource, guys. If you've got in your local area, if you can't make it to your local group, because, I love local groups. The one here wants to meet at, 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning for 3 hours. And I can't do it. It's an hour and a half drive for me, and it's too early in the morning when I've got too many things I have to do. So unfortunately, I can't make my group. And so Zoom groups have become a fantastic part of my universe, and I'm just so grateful for them. But anyway, in my Zoom chat, I was looking for some suggestions for something in scale for my screens. And one of my compadres there suggested this cloth. This is copper mesh cloth. Now, I brought this in from the good old Amazon.com. It came from, China. I couldn't source it anywhere else, but here it is. And the scale of it is absolutely terrific. Here is one of my screens that I've put together. I've got that there. I've got two frames. As you can see, I'm working on screenage. So you're just cutting these out, as you can see I've done here. I've cut it out. You just drop it on your frame, and off you go. You just glue it all together, and then I just hit it with a bit of matte black, they're good. They're good. I'm super happy with them, and they'll work really well. And so I will have my screens done. Now I've got to start doing some detail work on the wing engines. They've got to be copper, and they've also got to be on the business end. They've got to be a dark gunmetal gray. So I'm gonna work on that, and we'll just continue to plow along. So my screen windows are coming along. My lighting is all in. My cockpit is in. We just talked about the windshield, so we'll get that all going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out. I'll pull out all of the decals, and I'll get those on. And then we'll have a look at it with the decals on while I'm also painting in some of the other details. And then we can install these screens. That'll be one of the final things we do. But I've got chrome bumpers to paint. I've got some license plates to make. So, I mean, it's details. It's details. And I am, just so as you understand how my head works, okay? I can have a project that can go for months and months and months. I have no issue with that. But if I'm doing a project like that, I've got to have something to do in between. I know, it sounds crazy. It's just how my puerile brain works. I have to have several things going to keep me excited and interested. It also is because, while things are drying, you don't want to rush it, right? You don't want to make a mess. So anyway, enough about enough about how my head works. That's not why you showed up. But anyway, just sharing, man. Just sharing. So anyway, okay. let us plow on. We'll take a look at it close up once we've got all the decals on it. But she's coming together, and you know what's interesting too is it should have some character to it. It should have some dirt and some stains and things are falling off it. That was the Mel Brooks world. It wasn't perfect, you know. It wasn't perfect like this one, but that's the sort of genesis of it. So it's good for reference, right? He waits for no man. Okay, we're plowing on here, and I've gotten quite a bit done on this this kit. You know, I sound like a broken record sometimes when I whine and complain about these resin garage kits, and I shouldn't, because I should know what I'm, you know, getting myself into, and that's okay. You can spend hours and hours and hours removing stuff, cleaning stuff up, bondoing stuff, adding your own elements to it. And you know, at a certain point, you've got to respect the sort of creativity of it, I think, and accept what you've got, do the best you can, and be proud of what you've got. So that's where I am in my head right now. I'm sort of okay with it, but there's things that could be a lot better. All I can say is I'm so grateful to the great Jeff Fink, who has collaborated with me on this kit. And I know, you know, if you're over on Lou's channel, the Great Aztec Dummy, you'll hear him wax poetic about Jeff too, because he's that talented. Anyway, so he provided my engines and wings for me, and he also provided my AC cans and my cockpit. He's also designed an entire interior for this thing, which the reality is it's one of those models where unless you've got a cutaway of some kind, you're never going to see it. So you could if you peer down the windshield. Now, you know, there is something to be said for that, because I think it adds a certain level of wonderment to the whole presentation. So I'm not knocking it. I just not doing it. But anyway, so let's take a look at what we're doing here. Don't worry about the shininess and all of that. It's got zero weathering on it. It is absolutely, there's no details yet. I haven't picked out any of the colors and frames and everything else like that. I've been working on decals. I've added a couple of elements that do not exist on the actual filming model. They're not canon, but it's my model. So I've added them. I mean, what they are is, well, you can see, I've got this wonderful piece here, this little piece here, and this little piece here, which I think add a tremendous amount of detail to the top of it. Now, some of you might be going, why did you do that? Why did you do that? It's a fair question. You know why I did it? Because I was sitting here the other day and I was thinking to myself, you know what? This is a spoof on Star Wars. So I wanted to do a little homage to Star Wars, and these pieces are left over from a Millennium Falcon, D'Agostini Millennium Falcon, that extra pieces that I didn't use, you know, way back in the day when we were all building the Millennium Falcon and packs wouldn't arrive, or packs disappeared, or packs didn't include some of the things they were supposed to include, and you went running around eBay looking for packs. Well, that was me. And anyway, it's a story for another day, but it's why I have 3/4 of a Millennium Falcon sitting in a box unused. But I digress. So that's why they're on there. I've added some decals of my own, but it's a lot of interesting stuff. The horn is on here. Let me back her up so you can see. I've got my little brass horn. My antenna is on here. Cockpit is in and starting to look good. I'm starting to add some details. my screens are in, and I'm really super happy with. I got screens on both sides. These are fantastic, and I have that cloth, that mesh cloth that was suggested to me by one of my Zoom chat groups, as I mentioned, and that worked a charm. The scale of it is fantastic, so it's really good stuff. And all the lights are working quite beautifully. And I had one of those happy accidents where I had these multicolored changing bulbs, and I wanted to use them to create a little bit of flicker and computer stuff in the rear wall of the cockpit. But it turned out that they're so bright, and because of how I've put them into the interior, they're creating this wonderful kind of cosmic glow through the windows, and I'll share that with you when we do the final reveal. What I've got to do now is I have got to get these brass engines. I've got to get these painted brass, and then I've got to clean up my rear engines here, because these need a little bit of work. They just got a base coat of the gunmetal on, but that was just to create some undershading. I'm going to go back in now and fix those. We need streaking, we need aging, we need details, we need wash. So there's a lot to do, but it is coming together. Here's your rear with your classic "I Love Uranus" bumper sticker. Your Morg on board sticker is in there too, and my rear lenses are in. She's and her, all of the appropriate Winnebago decals are on here. So she's definitely coming together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my engines all cleaned up and finished. I also have to get my my orange reflector lights in, and I'm going to use some Tamiya Clear just to get those all in and settled. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I'll do some final weathering, and she should be good to go. Now, in terms of how I'm going to present this, I mean, ideally, it needs to be on an angle, looking like it's taking off. That's what it needs to be. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. I don't know. I don't quite know yet how that's going to look, but it definitely wants to be taking off. It doesn't want to be parked. It feels like it's it's not as dramatic as it should be. So anyway. And obviously it needs its washes too. So there's a lot going on here. Just want to give you a progress report. I did end up, putting in the cockpit here glass myself. I've not done the best of jobs, but I've done the best I could, because I was hoping to try and vacuform something. And I wasn't able to do that. So, but I have fashioned a relatively decent front windshield. And I've got to figure out something for the windshield wipers, and I'll do that. I'll scratch build some windshield wipers, I think. Okay, we plow on. We are getting dangerously close to the end of this build. There's a part of me that's kind of going to be relieved. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It was fun to build, and it's going to be great to have it on the shelf. But anyway, I'll share with you all of my final thoughts when we do the final reveal. I'll plow on. Yes, we're sitting in the dark because we didn't pay our bills. Lighting a model and then trying to present it in some cool way is something that I need to get much better at. So I have a couple of apologies to make. One is because I'm not doing a great job at presenting these models at the end. But I'm going to try and improve that this year. I've got to set up that I think will help. But I'm not one of these guys who wants really anybody to be an inch from my models. My models should be enjoyed at 3 feet, simply because, you know, I am still continuing to learn. And some things I miss and some things I don't do as well as others. But, you know, for the most part, my models look pretty decent when they're finished, but they're nowhere near where they need to be. The other apology I need to make is I keep referring to this as Ranger 5. It's not Ranger 5, it's the Eagle 5. So I need to apologize for that too, because sometimes I confuse names and nomenclature. I've been doing it my whole life. So I don't know whether that's something I could improve now, you know, because all the gray hairs have set in. What can I say? But anyway, here she is. This is the Eagle 5. It's an all-resin kit. Once and upon a time, it was available from Christophe Adrian over at Golden Armor. It's still on his website, but it is no longer available. I managed to pick this kit up from the great Randy Cooper, who was kind enough to sell me his, because he just didn't think he'd ever get around to building it. I've really enjoyed putting this together, and I came up with a couple of things that I think are really cool for the presentation. So we'll talk about that. Most importantly, the engines and the wings, my air AC units on top, my interior cockpit, all of it, except the rear wall, is courtesy of the great Jeff Fink, who collaborated with me on this model. So without the great Jeff Fink, I couldn't have done this. So Jeff, thank you. As always, I appreciate your friendship, your kindness, your patience, and your incredible speed. Also, he did all the decals for me too. So there you go. All the lights are from Evans Design. There's no card in here, so everything is blinking and flashing and moving, because that's how those elements come from Evans Design. If you've never checked out their website, go do it. It's an amazing resource for all of us. So let's have a little tour of this. It's a lot of fun, I have to say. When the kit arrived, you know, it's a classic resin kit, so it was not without all of its pain, right? Dings and chips and cracks and warping and everything else. I did the best I could with cleaning all of that up, but of course then I realized, you know what, this is actually okay on some level, because frankly, the filming miniature was supposed to be all banged up and goofy. This is the Mel Brooks world, don't forget. This is not, it's dystopia on acid with a little bit of Mel Brooks. That's what it is. So I've banged it up, dinged it up, and I've left some things crude because I thought, why not? You know, it's sort of it's part of this. You'll notice that I through a fluke, while putting in my mesh screens, my side screens, I realized that I had forgotten to light block the pulsing, breathing, sort of multicolored light I had put in to sort of shine through the front cockpit to give some of the rear control surfaces a little bit of action. And I came up with this bizarre and very cool kind of effect of all this diffused light through the windows. So I thought, you know what, dumb luck, I will keep that. The headlights are on, the cockpit is lit, and on the side here you can see this wonderful effect as well, this sort of strange pulsing through the window, which I think is kind of bizarrely cool. And then, of course, the rear of this piece of beauty. You know, I have my my rear headlights are on, and I was hoping you could see this. Perhaps it's better. I think it is better on this. Yeah, you can see here. I've got my I Love Uranus bumper sticker, and of course my wonderful Morgue on Board sticker as well is back there. Now I've added a couple of goofy things that didn't belong on this. I added a couple of things, as I mentioned earlier, from my D'Agostini Millennium Falcon. I thought that was a nice little shout out to Star Wars. And I added a couple of little caution stickers and things like that, just to give it a little bit of movement. I have a brass horn on here, and my antenna is courtesy of an old watch part, but it looks pretty hip. And if I can, I'm going to carefully tip this up to camera so you can see inside a little better. And you can see that the rear of it looks pretty cool, and I've got some glowing lights back there, and a curtain. You can't get the best of looks, but I think it works quite well. So all in all, there it is. This is the Eagle 5. Now I owe it an angled stand, which I will build. I'm gonna get a little bit of. I'm gonna have a friend of mine who's he makes metal. I'm gonna have him bend a little piece for me that I will sit on here, and it will nicely sit in on this angle. And I think it's a nice angle for this to present this. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this this build. I sort of tried very hard to you know, keep things interesting, but curiously, you know, not getting a lot of views, not getting a lot of love, the Eagle 5 from Spaceballs. It's really interesting, but anyway, I'm glad I stopped over Christmas to build it. Took a little longer than I had thought, but I'm glad I did. So there you go. From my hobby shop out to yours, the Eagle 5 from Mel Brooks is Spaceballs. We're going to obviously dive into some brand new kits. And next week we'll start a whole new build. But anyway, as always, everybody, please, I wish all of you be well, be safe, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.